This is the July 19th regular board meeting for the 2023 regular board meeting for the School District of Waukesha Board of Education. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Mrs. Ettinger, would you please please take the roll call.
Mark Borowski.
Here.
Betty Koenig.
Here.
Carrie Kozlowski.
Here.
Mark Moore.
Here.
Diane Voigt.
Here.
Patrick McCaffrey.
Here.
Anthony Zenobia. David Wad.
Here.
Kelly Piasek.
Here. Mr. Zenobia is excused this evening. Mrs. Ettinger, can you also please verify that the meeting has been properly posted?
Yes, it has.
Thank you very much. We do not have bright lights or recognitions or reports by students this evening, but we are at the point in the agenda where we have an opportunity for citizens to speak. We have 2 speakers tonight, so they will be allowed up to 5 minutes to complete their comments. They'll be notified at 3 minutes. We expect all speakers to honor our time limit, refrain from using any inappropriate language, and be respectful in their comments. Speakers who do not meet these expectations may be prohibited from speaking at future board or committee meetings. Speakers are here to address the board, not the audience. The school board does not endorse any comments made by members of the community. We would like to remind our community members of the impact of their words on others and that our children are watching. We commit to communicating with you in respectful and productive ways and ask that you do the same. We also expect that the audience will be respectful of the speaker and of the board and refrain from responding with verbal comments, cheering, applause, or other behavior that will detract from the meeting. Please note that no obstructions can be created between the board and the audience. Visual aids cannot be used, and the area behind the speaker and podium will be clear during public comment. Also, in order to respect our speakers and meeting participants, please silence your cell phones at this time. Our first speaker tonight will be Sarah Harrison, followed by Monica Whaley.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm still putting the finishing touches on since the meeting was a little earlier than normal. One moment, please. Okay. Hello. My name is Sarah Harrison, and I am the mother of a Waukesha South student and a Waukesha North alum. I'm here tonight to discuss how board actions have impacted the educator departures in the school district of Waukesha. We've seen record resignations from educators in SDW over the past few years. Many have left for other districts, and some have left the teaching profession altogether. A few of our departing educators have shared the reasons they have left, and I would like to quote some of their statements. Rusty Edlund was a teacher at South, and he shared the below with the public. There can be no question that SDW is in crisis. It is hemorrhaging teachers, and it is harming our students. So why is it that the policies and actors working to uphold them are doubling down when the evidence is overwhelming that it's doing more harm than good for morale at SDW? One example is how the library staff are being overly scrutinized, often by people with no credentials to supervise a library, being questioned about certain books or publications that imply that this drooling dope of a supervisor can't tell the difference between an anatomy textbook and a copy of Hustler. A second example is how leadership has shifted away from a collaborative way of problem solving to one that relies on quote-unquote corrective conversations and letters of reprimand. Corrective conversations are doled out like candy these days. I had one for playing a video about Paul Revere. One colleague had one for using a source other than the approved curriculum. A third had one where she was accused of being racist, and in parentheses it says, she's black. What disturbs me more than demoralizing strong educators with so-called corrective conversations, in parentheses it says, what are they trying to correct anyway, is the clear pattern that those who speak up will be ousted or intimidated into silence. Ross Freshwater a colleague of mine who is also leaving the district sent an email addressing his concerns about the impending curriculum rewrite for the classes he was teaching. When administrators were faced with the challenge, they simply said, "Is this your resignation then?" They were jumping to comply or else without any semblance of reconciliation or desire to find common ground. Rusty went on to say other things as well, but those were the key things I wanted to highlight. Dr. Freshwater also shared a statement with the public, and I'd like to read a segment of that. Over my first 5 years with the district, central office and building administration encouraged
2
the
minutes.
practice of research-based pedagogy in the classroom. In social studies, this took the form of theme-based units that took deep dives into inquiry-based teaching and learning. Teachers were encouraged and provided support in the cultivation of a deep and diverse trove of lesson materials from which they had discretion to pull topics and material that were the most relevant to the interests of the students in the room. Then came the COVID mask debate and the death of George Floyd. From the largely adult and white angst in the community sprung a new school board intent on returning Waukesha to a flatter, bygone era. This new board's reign began with the removal of masks before a large cross-section of the community was vaccinated. Soon after, the small rainbow-colored safe zone signs that hung in many teachers' doors disappeared. Upon our return to classrooms in August 2022, teachers found gaps in their shelves where controversial books had once stood. Remaining in our district libraries were 6 copies of Mein Kampf. The day after, at a district meeting, history teachers were handed a heavily scripted curriculum expected to be taught in lockstep across the schools with the explicit dictate that all potentially controversial
30
topics
seconds.
be presented to the board before entering the classroom. In winter 2023, the board ordered staff to address students by their assigned birth gender in the event that a student's wishes on the matter contradicted their parents. Our bright young students will enter a diverse world where they will need to deal with these issues. I call upon you to set policies and set the tone to make our school district a district
Your
where
time is
all
up.
people are welcome, safe, and free to be exactly who they are. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Whaley.
This is what you've been doing to the teachers' First Amendment rights, silencing them. This is how you have responded to our
minutes.
LGBTQ+ students who bravely came to you to report their harassment and bullying, with silence. This has been how you respond to emails from parents and all concerned citizens who don't align with your agenda, silence. You have systematically silenced teachers who are willing to speak up for their students who are denied federally mandated IDEA services by putting them on investigation, not even able to speak to the parents whose children are being negatively impacted. Granting a board member's request to remove over 100 books from the school's library and not processing them through the district's policy is silencing, censoring. Silence is not transparency. In the words of Haile Selassie, throughout history, it has been the inaction of those who have acted, the indifference of those who should have known better, the silence of the voice of justice when it mattered most, that has made it possible for evil to triumph. You will not silence me.
Thank you. Moving on to our minutes approval, we have 4 sets of minutes for your consideration tonight. The June 14th regular board meeting, June 14th executive session, July 12th special board meeting, and July 12th executive session. You looking for a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. McCaffrey.
I second.
Seconded by Mrs. Voigt. Thank you. Any discussion, corrections, or clarification? All right, Sue, would you take the roll call, please?
Betty Koenig?
Aye.
Mark Borowski?
Aye.
Patrick McCaffrey?
Aye.
David Wad?
Aye.
Markel Moore?
Aye.
Carrie Kozlowski?
Aye.
Diane Voigt?
Aye.
Kelly Piasek?
Aye, passes 8-0. Moving on to the WEF report, Mr. Borowski.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Well, we are just a couple of weeks away from our golf outing on August 3rd, and in good shape overall. The board did not meet in July, but we will be meeting in August. Good shape overall as far as sponsorships and volunteers, but we do still need about 10 golfers. So trying to sell out the event. If anybody still has registered that wants to, obviously you can still do that. Or if you know of anybody that still might be interested, you still got a couple of weeks' time to get registered, but we would like to see us sell out on the golf side. Other than that, things are looking good, and hopefully we'll see you on August 3rd.
Thank you. Guaranteed good weather.
Yes,
Okay.
certainly better than the last event in February or
Right.
March or whatever it ended up being, April.
Right, last summer was perfect weather, so
Yes.
let's hope for that again. All right, Dr. Siebert, communications.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Piasek. I have 4 exciting things in the communications realm today. The first 2 center around golf. And first of all, the Golf Coaches Association of Wisconsin recognizes Team All-Academic State each and every year. And we can be very proud that our very own Waukesha North High School received the gold, which is the top ranking in the entire state of Wisconsin. And that is for the academic accomplishments of their 5 main golfers, who we had some of them here at our last board meeting, both Jackson and Lucas Piasek. Congratulations. Aaron Anderson, Brady Noble, and Peter Hefner. So really awesome. And then similarly, in girls golf, the same thing, Team Academic All-State, our co-op team of Waukesha North, West, and South received the top overall award in the entire state, the gold award as well. So congratulations to all of our female golfers from our 3 comprehensive high schools. I also wanted to recognize a one-in-a-kind athlete in Tyron Cook, graduating from Waukesha South this year, basketball and track star, going to the Virginia Military Institute on a basketball scholarship. He was recognized as the 22-23 Waukesha Freeman Male Athlete of the Year, so that's very exciting. And then lastly, a 22 South graduate, her name is Ella Pittman. She won the Bright Co's inaugural community scholarship, where she wrote an essay about how our Waukesha community came together after the parade tragedy. And She was the winner out of thousands of applicants. She wrote a beautiful piece and won $3,000 that'll go toward her ongoing college at Concordia. So lots of great pieces here as we are in the middle of the summer to be, make us Waukesha proud. So thank you, Dr. Piasek.
Right. Our first item under general business tonight is renewal of our annual expulsion resolution. I apologize. Our first item under general business tonight is renewal of our annual expulsion resolution. So I will turn it over to Mrs. Gennerman to update the board on that.
Thank you. The full expulsion resolution is included in your packet. The original expulsion resolution was adopted in 1996 and has been renewed annually by the board for the last 26 years. The expulsion process has been defined in the expulsion resolution. Per the resolution, the board delegates the responsibility of conducting individual expulsion hearings to a Board of Education rotating panel of not less than 3 board members. This is an efficient process to handle potential removal of students who commit expellable offenses. Panel members attend individual expulsion hearings, vote on the expulsion, determine the length of the expulsion, and define any early reinstatement conditions that the student must meet prior to reinstatement or before the expiration of the terms of the expulsion. In addition to the panel, the full school board receives the summary report for the panel's hearing, reviews the expulsion order, and either approves, reverses, or modifies the order within 30 days of the hearing. This is listed as an action item for tonight, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Mr. McCaffrey?
Jen, has that always been in there of not less than 3? And the only reason I say that is because I've been on expulsion panels with 2 because we couldn't find a third person and we needed a quorum of an expulsion panel. So that could limit our ability. I don't know if it's been on there before, I'm not, but I have been on expulsion panels, there was only 2.
Okay, we can,
So I don't know if that's
The panel is 3, of which a quorum is 2.
right, but I thought it said not
The way
less
it
than.
read, it said, yeah.
not less than 3
3.
board members, so we can, from what I,
You're going to change it with a quorum present.
okay.
Would solve the problem, but I'm just, as read, you
We
can't have a
can-
2-person.
That's a good catch.
I actually,
Mr. Webb?
I actually disagree with that interpretation. It reads, the panel of not less than 3, so that's the panel. But then it says, due to last-minute schedule changes or illness, a quorum of the panel.
Mr. Webb, can you pull your microphone closer?
Yes,
and
I'm
turn it on?
sorry.
Thank you.
So if we all agree that the quorum is 2, this simply states the panel can't be less than 3, but it seems to indicate that, and I'm looking at the second paragraph here, due to last-minute schedule changes or illness, a quorum of the panel may conduct a hearing. So I'm not sure that I agree that it's, requires 3.
Right, no, nope. I think you're right, Mr. Wadd. Reading it
That
way.
clarifies your
Yeah,
question?
for sure.
Okay. Good catch.
Thank you for that.
Any other questions? All right, I would be looking for a motion to approve the resolution as presented.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr.
Second.
Webb. Seconded by Mr. Moore. Okay, Mrs. Ettinger, would you take the roll call, please?
Carrie Kozlowski.
Aye.
David Wad.
Aye.
Betty Koenig.
Aye.
Patrick McCaffrey.
Aye.
Diane Voigt.
Aye.
Mark Borowski.
Aye.
Markel Moore.
Aye.
Kelly Piasek.
Aye, passes 8-0. Moving on to our next action item under general business is approval of our CISA contract for the 23-24 school year. Back to Ms. Skennerman.
So first of all, I just want to share that CISA stands for a Cooperative Educational Service Agency that we have throughout the state. We are part of the CISA 1. The 2023-24 annual contract with CISA 1 includes various services and seats at several student learning programs, including 8 seats at Project Success, 5 seats at the New Pathways, 5 seats at Turning Point, and 2 seats at Distinguished Scholars Academy, and 3 seats at New Connections. The number of seats that we are looking to get is consistent with the number purchased last year. Each program within the CISA organization that they offer is a little different depending on the needs of the student. CISA 1 has been authorized by the state of Wisconsin to provide educational services to area school districts on the cooperative basis. The district has been well-served from these programs, and we would like to continue to participate in these cooperative efforts. The contract summary sheet is included in your packet. So for tonight, we are bringing forward the 2023-24 CISA contract in the amount of $677,394.30, and it's listed as an action item.
Any questions about the CISA proposal? I just have a general question about the budgeting around this contract. It looks like the rates have gone up a bit, like everything else, I think, in the world. I'm assuming that we've planned accordingly for the increase in those rates for part of the annual budget.
Yeah, it's about, I was just actually calculating, it's about $45,000 more than last year, but we'll incorporate that into the budget that we'll be bringing forth to FNF in August and presenting at the budget hearing in September.
And just for clarification, I'm confident that I know the answer to this, but these are the rates that CISA charges all districts. There's no negotiation in these prices. These are the rates. that
I'm
are
not
set
aware of
for-
any variance in how they calculate the prices. It's strictly total cost divided by seats or students.
That's my understanding as well. All right, any other questions? All right, I would be looking for a motion to approve the CISA contract for the 2023-2024 school year as presented.
So move.
Moved by Mr. Borowski, thank you.
Second.
Seconded by Mrs. Koenig. All right, Sue, would you take the roll call, please?
Patrick McCaffrey.
Aye.
Carrie Kozlowski.
Aye.
Marquel Moore.
Aye.
Mark Borowski.
Aye.
Diane Voigt.
Aye.
Betty Koenig.
Aye.
David Wad.
Aye.
Kelly Piastic.
Aye, passes 8-0. All right, moving on next to our consent agenda. We have no gifts to report this month. Your agenda includes various categories for approval. If any board member wishes to have an item set aside for separate consideration, you will have that opportunity in a moment. We do not have an expulsion panel action, but you will find an update to policy 5512, use of tobacco, nicotine, and related products by students. If any board member wishes to have an item set aside for separate consideration, please indicate so at this time. Okay, seeing none, Mr. Borowski, will you please present the consent agenda for approval?
Yes, thank you, Mrs. President. So the July HR consent agenda includes 17 resignations, 1 leave request, and 35 new or modified contracts. The information was provided in your packet. Addendum was placed at your desk. I move that the consent agenda be approved as amended.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Moore, thank you. Okay, Sue, would you take the roll call, please?
Markel Moore.
Aye.
Diane Voigt.
Aye.
Betty Koenig.
Aye.
David Wad.
Aye.
Carrie Kozlowski.
Aye.
Mark Borowski.
Aye.
Patrick McCaffrey.
Aye.
Kelly Piastic.
Aye, passes 8-0.
Mrs. President, that concludes my report.
Thank you. All right, moving on next to the superintendent's report. Dr.
All
Seaman.
right, thank you, Dr. Piasek. Since we last met for the first ever board meeting here at Blair, we have closed on the sale of Randall with Carroll University. That occurred at the end of June. And over the past 2 months, we've focused on the history of Lindholm and Blair. So tonight I thought we'd do a brief history of Randall. So Randall was named in honor of Governor Alexander Randall, an esteemed citizen from Waukesha. The land where Randall stood, or still continues to stand, just not under our ownership, was purchased from the Wilbur Company by the city of Waukesha when we were a city school district for $6,000. And the original Randall School was built in December of 1922. That building and the equipment inside was worth just over $54,000 at the time. And an addition was added in 1929 at a cost of $29,117. Interestingly enough, 2 years before the building was erected, school was held in barracks, which ended up being sold for $17,000 at the time. And Randall opened as a school on February 5th, 1922. It was the sixth permanent elementary school in Waukesha at that time, and the enrollment was around 170 students. About 105 students were transferred to Randall from the overcrowded Hadfield and Union schools, while the others came from the barracks. In 1985-86, there was an addition to Randall that housed the new gymnasium, locker rooms, a computer room, cafeteria tables, and a kitchen. And the 1929 gym was remodeled to hold the new media library center. Total construction for that was up to $627,000. And there was also a 1991-92 addition to Randall that added 8 new classrooms, a media center, a visual instruction center, 2 art rooms, a music room, conference rooms, a computer room, and an office area. The construction was completed in August of '92 for the first day of school, and the total for that construction and remodeling was $2.9 million. So you can see the power of inflation over the many years that we owned Randall. Randall became its current STEM charter school in 2009, and as you know, they will continue to be the STEM charter school this fall, and they will move over to Whittier, which our custodial maintenance crews are preparing for them as we speak. So just wanted to finish all of these facility moves by thanking the board for your support of these moves. They've been really fiscally responsible. They've been really beneficial to the School District of Waukesha. They've been great for Carroll University, and I think most importantly, they're very important for the Waukesha community. So that concludes my report, Dr. Piasek. Thank you.
Thank you. It's been really nice to see how the administrative team here in Blair has also kind of occupied their spaces, and still a lot of color that's coming up on the walls and things
Yes.
that are improving here as well. So it looks like people are getting comfortable and
It is all coming together, slow but steady.
home.
Yes.
Good. Very nice. Thank you. All right. We're now at the part of the meeting for our committee reports. We did forego committee meetings in the month of July, but we do have one item under the Teaching and Learning Committee, which is the annual approval of the educational standards. So Mrs. Kozlowski actually chaired that TNL committee meeting in June, so I will hand it over to her to present this item.
Thank you, Madam President. The last Teaching and Learning Committee meeting was held June 6, 2023 at 6 p.m. in the boardroom at Blair. We had one action item at our June committee meeting that is being brought forward to the July full board meeting to meet DPI statute requirements. This is the only item that appears on the agenda for the Teaching and Learning this evening. Wisconsin Act 55 requires the school board to annually include an item on the agenda at the first school board meeting of the school year that clearly identifies the student academic standards adopted that will be in effect for the school year. State legislation, Section 120.12, Parent 13 of state statutes also requires that districts annually notify the students and parents or guardians enrolled in the school district of the student academic standards that will be in effect for the school year. This notification is posted on the district's homepage under Menu, Annual Notices, as well as a more detailed matrix under the Teaching and Learning section of our website. On a vote of 4-0, the Teaching and Learning Committee approved the School District of Waukesha academic standards as presented. We request board approval, and I so move.
Second.
Seconded by Mrs. Koenig. Any questions? It feels like a long time ago now that we had the conversation, but,
Yeah.
all right. Seeing none, Mrs. Ettinger, would you take the roll call, please?
David Wad.
Aye.
Mark Moore.
Aye.
Diane Voigt.
Aye.
Mark Borowski.
Aye.
Betty Koenig.
Aye.
Patrick McCaffrey.
Aye.
Carrie Kozlowski.
Aye.
Kelly Piasek.
Aye, passes 8-0.
That concludes the Teaching and Learning Committee report. Our next meeting will be held on Tuesday, August 8th, 2023, in the boardroom.
All right, thank you. As we wrap up the committee part here, I will just run down the list of committee meetings for August, since we do have them on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, again in the month of August. So on Monday, August 7th, F&F will meet at 5:30 p.m., followed by the Policy and Government Relations Committee, same place at 7 p.m. On August 8th, the Student Services Committee will meet here at 6 PM, followed by the Teaching and Learning Committee here at 7 PM. And then on August 9th, the Human Resources Committee will meet at 6:15 PM, followed by the regular full board meeting for August. Everybody check your calendars. Okay. At this point, we're at the point in the agenda where we would accept recommendations for future board or committee action or discussion items. Are there any this evening? All right. We do not have a need for an executive session this evening. As I mentioned, our next full board meeting will be here in the boardroom on Wednesday, August 9th at 7 PM. That concludes our meeting. Good night, everyone.